Hey viewers, today I'm going to show you how to add bottle cage mounts to a vintage bike frame that doesn't have any, or to add bottle cage mounts to a more current frame, or maybe the frame only has bottle cage mounts on the down tube and you want to add some to the seat tube. This is for steel frames and aluminum frames, and you might not want to do it on a high-end aluminum frame with thin walls. You definitely don't want to do it on a carbon fiber frame. This is going to involve drilling holes in the frame, so you do this at your own risk. What we're going to be using are called rivnuts or rivet nuts. They're sort of like little molly screw type mounts that will go into the frame. They're threaded on the inside with M5.80 threading, which is the same threading as just regular bottle cage mount screws. What you want to look for are aluminum rivnuts. They're splined, and again M5 by 0.80 threading, and you want to have what's called a grip range down to 0.5 millimeters, because what these do is when you tighten them, this little back part here expands out and tightens to the inside of the frame tube, and you're going to need 2 of these per bottle cage mount. If you go on to eBay, do a search for rivnuts and bottle cage mounts or bicycle, a lot of times you can find some of these that are already in the size that you need. Okay, I'm going to take some painter's tape and put it onto the frame tube. This will allow me to mark where I want the holes, and also help keep the frame from getting scratched up while I'm working on it. And in this video, I'm only going to install bottle cage mounts on the down tube here, but you can just as easily install them on the seat tube. And I'm going to install them in a position that I can always later install them on the seat tube if I want. But I'm going to put tape over there anyway. Now, when trying to figure out the position of where you want the cages, you want to make sure that the cages will not interfere with any cabling or anything like that, or with the cages interfere with each other. Because like if you have the cage here, then like this, then all of a sudden now you're going to have this other cage up higher, and then maybe you can't get the bottle out. So you have to figure out ahead of time where you're going to want the cages to be. Now, what I recommend is look at another bike similar to what you have. In this case, it's a road bike. So look at another road bike and look to see where the bottle cage mounts are on that. And that might give you a good starting place. If you have a mountain bike, look at another mountain bike with a frame similar design as what you have, and look at where the bottle cages are on that. Now I have a road bike, and where the bottle cage mounts are on the down tube are from the bottom of the triangle here where the down tube meets the seat tube. The first screw, the lower screw, is 6 inches above there. So I'm going to put a little line right at the 6-inch mark. And on the seat tube, the lower screw is at the 7-inch mark. So I'm just for kicks and giggles here, I'm going to put a mark right there. If the bottle cages were mounted on here, this one would fit right here, and this one would fit right there like that. What I can also do is try putting bottles in the cages and see how they're going to fit like that, whether they're going to be about where I want them to be. Am I going to be able to get the bottles out? And that actually looks pretty good like that. So I'm going to go ahead and use this mark right there. And then the spacing from the bottom screw to the top screw needs to be 2.5 inches. So I'm going to mark it right there. Let me see if I can find the mark right there. right there. So 2.5 inches from there to there. You want to be really, take your time doing this, measure twice, cut once, because once you drill these holes, you can't undrill them. So you want to make sure they're in the exact place that you want them. Now I need to find the center of the tube. What I'm going to do is just take an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, fold it exactly in half, and then crease it along the one edge there. And then what I can do is take this piece of paper, put it over the tube, inside these cables here. Now if I take the bottom edges, have them, the bottom edge nice and lined up with each other on there, hold them and hold this page straight down from the tube. This crease right here should be right in the middle. So I can put a line right there. So that's where the one screw is going to go, right there. And then I can bring this up here to this, and again, put a line right there. And then that's where my other screw is going to go, right there. And then I'm going to just double check, make sure that this bottom screw is about 6 inches from the bottom of the triangle there. That's 6 inches. And then make sure that this is about 2.5 inches. That looks good. Again, measure twice, cut once. So you want to make sure and verify these are where you want them to be. So now what I'm going to use is a center punch. This is like an automatic center punch. So I can just put the tip right in the center of that little X there, and then push down, and that'll put a little mark there. And I'm going to just reinforce it, do it a couple times there, like that. So now I have like a little mark there where I want it to drill, and I'm going to do it with the other one here. Get it lined up right there. So I got my little marks there where I want to drill. Now what I'm going to be using is called a right angle drill, as opposed to a regular hand drill, because it would be hard to fit inside the triangle and get a nice straight shot into the hole. This is called a right angle drill, and you can buy these, or you might be able to borrow one or rent one. And I'm going to start off with a real small bit just to drill a pilot hole. So using my little center punch hole there to start drilling. Now the first holes I drilled were with a 3/32 inch drill. That's not super important, just a small drill. I'm going to go with a little bit bigger. This is a 5/32 inch drill, so I'm just going to make these holes just a little bit bigger now. Okay, now I'm ready to drill the final holes that are large enough to fit the rib nut. So I have my caliper here, so I'm going to measure the diameter of the rib nut, and you should measure yours, because depending on what rib nuts you buy, they might be a different size than this. So you need to measure your rib nuts, and it's about 7.35 millimeters in diameter. So I want to find a drill about that big. This is a 19/64 inch bit, and if I measure there, it's about 7.45, 7.44 at the shank there. And if I can measure across here, it's about 7.45 millimeters. So the 19/64 inch drill bit is about 0.1 millimeters larger than the diameter of the rib nut. So what you want is a drill bit that is somewhere between 0.02 millimeters to 0.1 millimeters larger than the rivnut. So this is the one I'm going to use, 19/64. Now that I have my holes drilled, I can test fit the rivnuts in there and to make sure that they fit in the hole and they slide in. So now I want to remove the tape, and there's my holes in my frame, and I can take my rivnuts and then just slide them into place here, like that. Okay, I'm ready to start tightening the rivnuts into place, and they make special tools for that, and they're actually kind of pricey, but I have like a little homemade tool, and all it is, it's a 30 millimeter long screw with the same threading as a bottle cage screw, so it's an M5 by 0.80 threading, and it's 30 millimeters long. It's a little Allen screw there. There's a washer here, and then I have a nut that's actually larger than the screw. This is actually an M6 nut, so the screw will slide through there like that. What I want to do is, actually before I put it in there, I'm going to use like a little bit of grease and put a little bit of grease on the threads, just a little bit, because I want it to thread in nice and smoothly in there, because I don't want a lot of resistance on there. So just thread this into the rivnut and screw it all the way down like that. And then I have a little open-end wrench here. I'm going to hold that nut there, and then I'm going to tighten the Allen screw. And what that's going to do is pull the rivnut, the back of the rivnut, up and compress it against the inside of the frame tube. So now I'm just going to tighten this, and there'll be resistance. It'll lessen a little bit after a bit, just a little bit, and then it will get much harder. And at that point is when you want to stop. Right about there. And then I can loosen this screw. And then just test it, wiggle it around, and so that seems to be nice and tight fit in there. Then do the other one the same way. Just thread this in. Okay, hold the nut there. And then tighten the Allen screw. Then I'll remove the Allen screw. I can test it, wiggle it around. That seems to be nice and solid. So remove the screw. And so there, I've got my two mounts in there. Now I can go ahead and install a bottle cage on there. Nice and solid. Slide a water bottle into there. And that is how you do it. That is how you install bottle cage mounts. You can just as easily install them over here on the seat tube. Just make sure that the bottle cage mounts are not going to interfere with anything. So like in the seat tube, make sure they're not going to interfere with the seat post coming down in there. So you might want to measure that and make sure that it's not going to interfere with any of the cables or anything like that. Anyway, that's how you do it. I hope you found this useful or interesting. If you did, please click like on the video. I always appreciate getting likes on my videos, and it helps me out. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Click the subscribe button. And I'm also on Facebook, RJ the Bike Guy. You can go over there and like that page, and you'll see I post a lot of stuff over there. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.